birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right.
Love is patient.
Love does not envy.
Love is kind.
Love does not boast.
Love rejoices with the truth.
It is not proud.
Love always protects.
Love does not dishonor others. I think that's a powerful one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't dishonor others. Yeah.
Love always trusts.
Love is not self-seeking.
Love always hopes.
It's not easily angered.
Love always perseveres.
This is the best one I've got. It does not keep record of wrongs. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, great.
Great to have you guys back here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As you know, we're going to start with a game.
Oh wow, that should be nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those are your blindfolds.
Oh,
All right. Okay.
so should we put them on now?
Please put them on.
I can't see. I can't see.
I think that's the idea of a blindfold.
Well, it's not very nice if you can't see anything. And I don't know how I look either.
Have you done it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have to tie it very hard though. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, this game is testing how much you see of each other or what you see on each other. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you both questions and see how many you get correct.
Oh, okay.
So, Dad, what color are Mom's eyes?
Blue.
Mom? What color are Dad's shoes?
Blue. I hope I got that right.
Dad,
Yeah.
how many rings is Mom wearing this evening?
What, right now? Well. I would have to guess that one. I can guess 2.
Okay. Mom, can you hold your fingers up and we can see if they're okay. What color socks is Dad wearing?
I think he's not wearing socks.
I am actually.
Oh,
So try again.
blue.
Dad, what color is Mom's dress?
Black and white.
Mom, what color are Dad's trousers?
White. With a tinge of blue or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, Dad, what color are Mom's shoes?
It is this kind of color which is difficult to describe. Beigey.
You may take off the blindfold.
Okay.
I think you guys did fantastic.
You look at your socks.
Black.
Oh, black.
Yeah.
I got the socks wrong.
One time God showed me from this passage how his love is outworked towards human beings. And I thought it was fascinating the way he demonstrated his love. And as we worked through, as I began to discover, oh, this is how God shows his love. Oh, this is how God shows his love. Oh, this is how God showed his love. It became clear to me that if we are going to succeed at demonstrating true love for one another, which is what we all actually need, we need to learn from God. So I've used it to teach married couples how to love each other. I've used it to teach in other contexts how to love each other. And I think it's something that is very pertinent for us now as we're talking about loving the tribes and the races.
We don't need no more, even in the hard times.
We often talk about love in the setting of a home or in the setting of a marriage.
Yes.
So we want to discuss that first. So, Mom, you and Dad have been marriage counselors for many years. What does a cry for love look like in a wife?
In a way. Well, I think every wife is looking for love in a particular way, particularly from her husband. So wives like to feel special, and they like to feel cherished, and they like to feel that they are a priority for their husband, a big priority in their husband's life. And when they don't feel like that, they can react they feel hurt and they feel disappointed. And different people react in different ways. They might withdraw and become very quiet, or they might come out fighting. It looks like they are being aggressive, but it's actually an expression of hurt. They might start accusing, their husband of not caring.
Well, just to pick up on what you've said about a cry for love, first of all, in a wife, it's like I have seen again and again that when my wife is unhappy, when she's withdrawn, or whatever is going wrong, I may be tempted to also react in the same way and try to, in fact, to withdraw or reply. But I find that everything is always resolved if I can put my hand on her shoulders and then say, I love you, and say, can we talk about this? And these are ways of communicating love. And I do that, it just changes everything. So I find that whatever is going on, if I can master enough ways of demonstrating love to her, get on again, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
In a man, often maybe, in fact, similarly, may want to withdraw, may want to speak harshly, may want to be authoritative in every way, maybe too dominant in some ways, but actually at the depth of that we would say he's looking for respect, we say. But I would say for the man, respect for a man is actually this way of receiving love. And so if a woman who is wise sees all kinds of reactions that are not good, if she responds with respect, humility, it actually will transform the whole thing. That's love for the man.
What you've been saying is that this cry for love which we see within married couples is the same cry for love we are seeing when people are marching, asking for equal rights.
Yes.
When people are demanding and asking questions about why their tribes are looked down upon.
Yes.
What makes you believe that these protests, these outcries and demonstrations are also a cry for love?
Because if you summarize all that people are asking for, it cannot be put together in one word: love. People want to be accepted. People want to be included. People want to be received with the same honor that everybody else is being received. People want to be considered in the purposes and the planning of a whole nation. People don't want to be kept on the fringes. So yes, in the USA, for example, where the racial discrimination is still very strong and very deep, there is systemic racism there, you will find that blacks don't have the same opportunities as the white people. And so white people, they plan for their families, they plan for their part of the country. The children can get the best education. They have opportunities to better housing. They have opportunities for just getting on and moving on and doing well. And that actually excludes many people. Imagine for a moment it is decided that they're going to open these doors, that all black people will have the equal opportunities in all these areas. It will be like love released. It will be like love poured out onto them. It's an incredible thing, but what I'm really saying is love your neighbor as yourself. All the beautiful things that you think of and plan and do for your family, just escalate that into the other tribe and race, and you are getting a totally different nation.
In these verses, God expresses love by certain actions.
That's right.
We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm.
First of all, God expresses love by seeing.
Yes.
So, Mom, as a wife, what makes you feel seen by your husband?
I'm ready to hear.
Well, if he compliments me, if he commends me, if he talks about me, yes, then I know that he has noticed me. And also, actually, when he helps me with things, because then I realize that, oh, he's seen my predicament and he's taken note of it, and he's coming to help. Yeah.
Dad, as a husband, what makes you feel seen by your wife?
Well, not very different from what she said, but if she notices that I'm trying to do some work and I'm caught up, often I've got so many different things, and then she offers to help me with this one or help me with that one. If she can pick up from my face that I'm hungry, and then she offers me something to eat, I know, yeah, this woman, you've really seen, you are looking at me. Not only looking, you have understood my situation. If she picks up that I'm upset, and then she comes along and asks, what's happened, what's going on? Sometimes she has to dig a bit more before I come out. But it's when she notices.
Mom, as a wife, how do you know that your husband has heard?
Well, if he stops to listen, I think generally wives have a lot more to say than husbands. So making time to actually listen and
Putting the phone away.
yes, like undivided attention.
Yeah.
And empathizing, so showing that you have actually understood what the person is saying. I think you can tell whether the person is empathizing with you by their comments. So I think most of the time we like it if our husband will sympathize with us, take time to sympathize with us, or empathize with whatever we are feeling before maybe even coming up with a solution or offering advice.
And Dad, what makes you know that your wife has heard?
Well, when she actually does what I've said. Yeah, I think when you're talking, usually if it's a context where you want something done and it is not happening, it's clear that you've not been heard. But there is also another dimension when you having a conversation, a moment comes when you know that your views, your words are being taken into account. And that can begin to show in body language. And eventually when it is done, when whatever you're asking for is done, you know, yes, you've been heard here. I've been heard here. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So again, we're going to put this up against intertribal and interracial relations.
Yes.
If we are to imitate God in
Yes.
loving the different tribes,
Yes.
we're going to want to see and hear people of different tribes. So Dad, what does this seeing look like when it comes to intertribal relations
And interracial? I find that I've been a minority in nations. When I go abroad, I'm a minority. Also, even in this country, I belong to a minority tribe. And what tends to happen is you can be in a room, you can be having a discussion, but you become aware that nobody is actually seeing you, or they actually look straight past you. They look straight past you. And sometimes you can say, you can be there and just not register, which means that you've been blanked out already before you arrive. But the moment you arrive, you've been blanked out, maybe unconsciously. So sometimes you have to work overtime before anybody notices that you're there. So it's like that, where you can be there but almost be invisible if you're a minority in a context there. And so to be seen, I believe if the tribes and the races are going to make sure they see each other, they should be aware that there's an unconscious bias towards noticing or seeing people like themselves. We all have that bias. We tend to see people like us. And so when somebody who is not like us steps in, the first step in demonstrating love would be that we consciously make an effort to look and look and look until we actually see that the person is there. Now we make an effort to take him in and accord the person the equal standing that we do accord people like us naturally. But we need to work to be able to do that.
I think that we miss out on many beautiful friendships and many possible relationships because we don't see people.
That's right.
So we don't realize that, oh, this could be a lovely friend for me, because we literally don't see the person because they're not like us.
Could even become a husband.
Yes.
Or a wife.
Yes. So we're looking for someone like us to be friends with. We think the unconscious assumption is that my best kind of friend is going to be someone who's very like me. So we just fail to see people and therefore miss out on many great friendships that we could have had, and even, relationships. People, wanting to get married and discounting huge swathes of the population because they're not the same color or they're not the same tribe.
That's right.
So we miss out a lot, I think, by not
Because
seeing
of
people.
the prejudice, isn't it? We've
Yes.
already blanked out whole races, whole colors, and whole tribes. So, and yet, who knows? God may be wanting to give us somebody from there.
Yes, exactly.
We can't even see, let alone start a relationship. So that's a big one.
Again, if we're to imitate God in loving people from different tribes and races, what does hearing people from a different tribe or race?
Oh, that is a big one. Hearing. I find that what tends to happen is when you're in a minority, you can talk and talk and talk and talk, almost like hitting your head against a stone, but nobody takes note. Almost like when you finish, they just go to exactly the same thing that they were doing, as if you haven't spoken anything. And then you discover that it's not even what you are saying. What you are saying, nobody's actually heard anything that you are saying. And one of the things that can be difficult about it is that often the minority is speaking in an accent that is not sweet. That is not nice. That's not considered the accent. And I do this as well. Sometimes I hear somebody speak English, and the way he speaks English, I immediately almost decide that there's not going to be anything great coming out of that. or somebody trying to speak my own language, if he's not getting it right, I can do this, pull out the barriers, and I wouldn't hear anything more. So that is a big one, because what we hear first, it's like, this doesn't sound quite right. From that moment, forget about anything that the person will be saying. It's already been judged and put in the bin. And that is a huge thing. And so when we look at God and he said, I have heard their cry. I mean, God's language must be super, super, much, much better than ours. We are trying to use words here. How does God speak? And yet, if he said he has heard you, it means that he did this, until until he could pick up your words, your faltering language. He could pick it up. It means he gave time and listen. And then he said he has heard, means that yes, he's got you. He's got what you're trying to say. And I think when the tribes and races are going to be, what I'm really saying is they must learn to be friends. If they're going to learn to love each other, hearing one another is going to be vitally important. I know, for example, in Ghana, when people hear Nigerian accent, they immediately cut people off. They just like, there couldn't be anything good coming from there. But this is not right. Isn't it?
Yes. And another thing to take into account is, particularly when you're talking about intertribal relationships or interracial relationships, there is hurt on both sides.
Yes.
And that affects how people speak, just as it does between a husband and a wife when they're hurt. They might come out in an aggressive way or in an angry way. And I think that it's difficult hearing anger, and it can make people switch off and not want to listen, and also dismiss the person. So we have to give room for people's emotions.
Yes.
Yeah, and try and see beyond that to the actual truth. And when we are hurt and angry, we sometimes overstate our case and make sweeping generalizations ourselves, but we should try and look beyond that and think about what is the underlying truth behind this hurt and what the person is saying, and not be put off by the emotion.
And sometimes there are some underlying factors culturally that actually prevent us from hearing each other. So the way people speak their own language is always different from the way those who have come to use it as a second language. And so those who have their own language, there are many underlying features, undertones, nuances, and various things about it. And assumptions, actually. And often, somebody who's got it as a second language hasn't got half of all the things that are operating underneath the language. And so there can be genuine difficulties communicating. And so what we were taught when we were going to get married was that they said when you are talking, you said you ask, do you mean ABC?
Yes.
Do you mean, that is like learning to really get her. Do you mean, do I understand you? Can I understand you to say this?
Yeah.
That is really working to try and understand each other. And then she's also meant to ask me. But if we don't do that, we can jump to so many conclusions, even when we have tried, we think we've heard, we think we have understood, and it can just go completely wrong. And so those aspects are also important. Learning to take time with each other because you want to hear. You really want to hear what the person is saying. And that is loving her. That is loving him. That is loving people from the other tribe. Because I find that most of the discussion going on across the tribes right now, take the white race and the black race right now, the whites think they have heard everything, they have known everything, and they've understood everything. But actually, I would say they are yet to hear, actually, what these people are saying. And I would say the same. The black race thinks They've heard everything that the white people are saying. They know everything they are saying about their fears, their worries, and all that. I would say we've not yet actually started. It will take trying to be like God for each other, how God did. He must have really, really bent down his ears. Take time, sit down in the same room. For example, Jesus sat down among the Samaritans. And it's a place that you should not even stop for one moment to greet. But he sat down, made time, so that people could talk to him. And in the process, he eventually heard her. And she also heard him. We need to deliberately create forums for talking to each other, blacks and whites. We need to make forums for talking to each other, the tribes in Ghana. I know we mix, I know we talk, but there should be deliberate, intentional efforts at creating moments where, look, this thing is going on, let's talk about it.
So, how can we show concern or be concerned about people from other tribes and races?
Well, if we start from the marriage analogy again, I think I feel concerned about my husband because I love him. And when you love someone, you want things to go well for them, and you are concerned if things are not going well, and you want to do something about it. I think
right.
that would be the definition of concern, isn't
Yeah.
it? So I think that if we're going to be concerned about people from other tribes and races, then we have to have love for them. And I think that can only come from God, because naturally we would all probably naturally be a bit insular and think first about people from our own tribe or our own race and be more concerned about them. But we've got to ask God to open our hearts and change our thinking and help us see that actually these things are all external. Tribe and race, they're all external, and the core of the person is just another child of God or another human being created by God.
In his image.
In his image, yes. So,
equally valuable,
yeah.
equally precious.
So
Yes.
if we can see people like God sees them, then I think that kind of love can flow,
Yes.
and that kind of concern can flow.
That's right. It's almost like trying to put yourself in the other person's position,
Yes.
and that assists you. So this is what we can do about it. Even if you don't know how to show concern, a first step, just imagine yourself in that situation, in the person's predicament, in the person's context. Then in that moment, you can begin to empathize with him. Then you can actually show some real concern about their situation. But if we never ever thought about their situation, we will never be able to express a godly concern for their situation. But I think that's what God does excellently. And as you said, we really need him to help us. We need real humility to be able to love one another across the tribes and races.